Good evening.
Good evening, my sister. How are you?
I am good. I'm good.
So
How
happy
about
to hear
yourself?
it. You know what? Outside of this little pesky cough, I'm doing well. I can't complain.
I know. There's no point in complaining because if you complain, then they say that you're not trusting God if you're complaining.
That's
So
right.
you shouldn't be complaining. And then if you say you're trusting God, then there's no point in even talking about the situation.
Right.
You just know that God's gonna fix it.
That's right. Whatever it may be.
hmm Yeah. So, but if I know one thing about complaining, if you have the ability or resources to change it, and it is in your control to do so, then do it.
Then make the changes. That's right.
Then
I
do
believe
it.
that as well. I
But
believe that as well.
those things that we cannot control, just give it to the one who can.
That's right. That no sense you
Yeah.
holding on to what you can't control because you don't know what to do with it, don't know which way to go with it.
No.
Just let it
My,
alone and let somebody that know what to do work it
exactly.
out.
Exactly. Because that is his sole purpose.
That's right.
He's the one that controls everything. He is a sovereign God.
Yes,
No
he
matter
is.
what goes on in our lives, he's still a sovereign God. And
That's
so
right.
we know that there's a whole lot of things that's happening on today, but God is still yet a good
Yes.
God.
Yes, he
He's
is.
still yet a good God. He's still a good God. And we praying for Kobe Bryant and his family.
Yes.
And
Oh,
we
absolutely.
pray that the Lord overshadow his comfort and strength and
Yes,
love
Lord.
over them because grief is grief.
Yes, it is.
When
Yes, it
you,
is.
when you lose someone that you love, you're in a grieving process. However long, however that looks, that is her grieving process.
That's right.
That's I mean, I hear that there's even people around globally that are grieving as well. Uh,
Right.
They don't. I mean, you don't necessarily have to have a relationship with someone to grieve. You can
Right.
just, you know, um, be feeling um, like you were close to them. You
Yeah.
know. But
Yeah.
at the same time, however that looks for you, at least go through the process. And I'm just praying, Felicia, that um, that everything's gonna be all right. It
Yeah.
hurts. It really does hurt. It
Yeah.
really
This
does.
one hurt. This one hurt. I know when I got the news, I was still at church at the time, and few of us were still mingling in the parking lot. And one of the sisters had announced it because it came up on her phone, and we just all stopped in our tracks. And when we confirmed that it was facts, because a lot of times they had these hoax of people dying, which I think is so ignorant to play around with death like that.
Yeah.
So we were kind of waiting to get it verified, and when we did, you can just feel, you could just feel the heaviness that just sat on that parking lot with us. And so my thought is, if it felt like that for us, and we don't know him. We don't know and to be honest, we don't know any of those people that were on that helicopter. So
Exactly.
if it felt so heavy for us, I can only imagine how it feels for those families. Kobe
Yeah.
Bryant's wife and children, his family, and the other
And the
family
other
members.
family.
I can't imagine the load and the pressure and that weight that is just resting upon them right now. So I'm right there
Exactly.
with you, just praying for God's comfort, that He truly that He just wraps His arms around them in this time. I can't imagine what they're experiencing.
Exactly.
As my
Um,
mom said, they all said something to family members. Oh, I'll see you when we come back.
yeah.
Just assuming we'll be back by faith.
Amen. It is by
And
faith. It
yeah,
is a faith walk.
yeah,
But it does make you
yeah,
reflect. But at the same time, just keep moving forward and
that's right.
believe in God and know that He's good and take it day by day. Um, because we're praying for all the families. I know I
Right.
said Kobe Bryant and his family, but I mean everybody that was on the
Yeah,
helicopter because I really don't know who all was there.
yeah,
but We're praying for all the families. So, good evening, everyone. We thank you all for being here on the Issues of Life platform. We're so excited about this on tonight because tonight we are talking about mental health awareness, and
Yes.
I do have a special guest, you all. So we will not prolong the time. Y'all know how me and Felicia are. We just get on here. We have to say our little 2 cents and all that, and then we will bring on our guests. So let's go ahead on and bring on the guests on tonight because I know you all are waiting. So good evening, Candace, Arnetta, Toya. Thank you
Yes.
all for
Thank you
being
for
here.
joining us, ladies.
Yes, Lakeisha, Dorothy. I thank you all for being on here and please share this live. I know how sometimes I be forgetting to tell y'all to do that. But
Please
please show
share.
some love with those hearts and share this live because we're talking about mental health awareness.
Right.
Um, I'm going to introduce Miss Raven Pons. She is from Columbus, Mississippi. She is a licensed master social worker. She is the author of Broken Wings Can Fly Again. It is a motivational guide to healing. She is also a YouTuber and it's called Ray Speech, RAE Speech. And her life goal is to speak unfiltered truth. I love that. I love that
Yes.
goal that Raven has
Unfiltered
because you
truth.
do need to speak unfiltered truth. You know, it's no point in being dishonest because you ain't gonna get anywhere being
Yeah.
dishonest.
You're doing yourself a disservice.
Oh, you most definitely are doing yourself a disservice. So let's bring
Hmm.
on Miss Raven, y'all. Y'all say hello to Miss
Yes.
Raven. Pons.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm so
Y'all,
excited
Miss
to be with y'all
Raven.
tonight.
We are excited to have you with us.
Yes, we're so
Yes.
excited. And we thank you for being a guest on the show on tonight. Um, and just like you were saying, that your life goal is to speak unfiltered truth.
I love that, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you collaborate on that just a little bit about speaking
Yes,
unfiltered truth? Because it's not like you saying, oh, we just going to speak the truth. No, you're making sure that the truth is unfiltered. I think
absolutely.
that
Right.
means something totally different than to just be speaking truth.
Right.
I'm glad you said that because that's exactly kind of where that was birthed out of. Was I believe that the best form of truth is when it's in its unfiltered form. So a lot of times we can manipulate the truth or we beat
Mm.
around the bush when it concerns truth. And that's us putting our hands in it and trying to filter it. So I believe that truth is the most powerful when it's in its unfiltered form.
Yes, that's
I love
true.
that.
And that's the way that God even handle us. It's see, when
Absolutely.
he's speaking to us about ourselves, he's not beating around the bush. Well,
Right.
I mean the conversation that I have with
Right.
the Lord, he ain't beating
Uh-uh.
around the bush with me.
Not at all.
And sometimes that
Right.
truth be something that hurts. You know, sometimes it hurts,
Absolutely.
sometimes it's uncomfortable, you know,
Hmm.
but it's good for me though. It's good for
Right.
me. And it's good to embrace unfiltered truth because it is to help you. It's not to attack you. It's not to make you feel shame. It's
Right.
really there to help you to be that better person that God had created us to be. So it's okay to just have someone come and tell us something about ourselves, but we shouldn't get so caught up on, oh my God, who she thought she talking to? Who she
Right.
talking to?
Right.
Yeah.
Who the pastor thought she talking to? She talking to me? Yeah, he talking
Yeah.
to you. You know he talking to you.
And like
Yeah.
they say, just because you was offended, it doesn't change the truth.
Woo!
That's it. That's it.
That is so
That's
true. It's
Yeah,
so
because
true.
ultimately the word of God says that the truth shall set us free. So,
Yes.
you know, if truth comes in, convicts you or offends you, that means that there's something that needs to be
Hmm.
free in that area.
I
That's
like
just
that. That's
ultimately
true.
what
Yeah,
it is. And that's why
that is
truth should
so
be
true.
unfiltered. It might hurt, it might not sound good to you, it might hit you real deep, but at the end of the day, that's an indicator that there is some place in you that truth
Yeah.
that needs to be set free, and the truth
Yes.
shall set you free.
Amen. And I like how the Bible says it will make you
It
free.
will make
I know
you
how a lot of people love to say it will set you free. They love
uh,
to use that term, but the Bible says it
It will
will
make.
make.
make you free.
That's,
Absolutely.
that's almost like something that's compelling, that's pushing, but it's gonna make you free. And
Yeah.
I thank the Lord for that because the truth will make us free. Even though you
It
might
will.
not, like Felicia said, even though you might be offended.
Right.
hmm Yeah,
Yeah.
you still got to listen to the truth. I like how
Absolutely.
Ken Andre said the truth is freedom. I believe that's what he was trying to say. The truth is freedom, and
Yes,
I
it
just
is.
believe the truth is freedom too. Um,
Mhm.
but a lot of people don't be wanting to hear the truth. I'm like, come on
That
now.
is so
I
true.
don't be wanting to hear. I'm like, well, what you want me to do? You just want me to listen to you?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't want to hear the truth because the truth obviously hurts.
Yeah.
Because hearing the truth, that means we have to put a mirror up to ourselves. That
Mhm.
means we're now at this point are going to have to be accountable for whatever the
Absolutely.
actions or whatever steps that we're taking in our lives.
Yeah.
We're going to have to take a deep look at ourselves, and many times we don't want to do that. So it's
Mhm.
easier to just keep, suppressing it, acting like you don't see it. If someone brings it to your attention, and I mean a person that's bringing it in love, in
Right.
support, in a place of being that accountable partner, and then you get
Mhm.
all defensive. I always say, and this is just my theory. This is
Yeah.
nothing I heard. This is what I've made up in my mind. The
Yeah.
truth only offends you when you haven't addressed it with yourself,
That's true.
Yes. That's
when
good.
you
I
in
like.
denial of who you are. To me, that's when the defense comes. Oh, I'm defensive, or who told who said that, or things like that. To me, is when you have not taken that opportunity to say, you know what, I need to rest in this because yeah, I do
Right.
have these problems. This is
Exactly.
how I operate. I do need to correct this. Do need to correct that. Yeah, you know what? That is out of line. Should know.
Right.
To me, defense only comes when you're just not honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now
And
that's
truth
my
is a,
theory.
yeah, and I completely agree. Truth is a driving force to change. So
Yeah.
if we want change, there's got to be some truth there that
Ooh,
initiates that change. So it's definitely a driving force to growth, to change, to
absolutely.
maturity. You
Yeah.
know, that's just a part of it. You know, that initiates that process
Right.
if
Amen.
we're open
That's right.
to it and if we're willing to allow that
Right.
to,
That's the difference.
be a seed that takes root.
Amen. But I believe that people just need to get out of themselves, get those feelings out the way, and
Mhm.
just embrace the fact that somebody was willing to come to you and tell you the truth.
Right.
Because they could have just let you stay in your mess. They
Mm-hmm.
could have just let you continue to live their life the way that you're living it, even though they know that, hey, I need to come and tell you the truth. Because I mean, who are you to me if you're not able to come to me? Especially if I say you're my friend.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, if you are my friend and you just letting me go live my life the way that it is, especially if you know that I might be married to someone and then he's out there doing things, and then you don't want to come tell me the truth.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what I may do or say, you as a friend, you owe me the truth. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and I owe you the truth just as well.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
then when it all come all down to it, and when everybody else know about it and come back to you, I'm looking at you crazy, like, hold on, you know all this is going on,
Yeah.
and you tell me? But that's just the human side of us. But
Right.
we are responsible for our own feelings and making sure that we keep those feelings in check.
Right.
Like,
Yes.
okay,
Absolutely.
And I think another part of that too is making sure too, as people are speaking the truth or may speak the truth, is that you're clear on who you are. That's something I had to come into the understanding of because you don't want people speaking truth that ain't the truth, but it ain't
yeah,
true. I think
Yes.
you have
Yes.
to make
true.
sure though you are still clear on
Mm-hmm.
who you are because if not, you
Absolutely.
will take and receive anything that's coming your way and just
Mm-hmm.
okay, that's me, and that may not really been you. That's their
Amen.
perception of you.
Right.
And so
Exactly.
I think you have to be clear on who you are as well in that process.
Yeah, that's true. You do have to know your own truth now. You do have to know who you are and whose
Right.
you are.
You have to get
Right.
into your own
You know
truth.
what I'm saying? You do have to know now. The Bible do
Yeah,
say try the spirit by the spirit. You know,
that's right.
everybody ain't speaking truth.
Mm-mm. It did say
That is so
beware.
true.
No
False doctrine.
ma'am. No
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes.
You sure got that right. But Raven, you are on here to talk about mental health awareness. So we want to hear about your story.
Yes.
I know that you also have your experience of your own. You also have your own truth. So share that with us on tonight.
Absolutely. Like you said, this is something that's personal to me. And I've always believed that He gave me a big mouth to be able to share the truth with the world. So I got to use it. And so one of those ways that I'm really compelled to do that is by being an advocate. And a lot of that has to do with the profession that I chose as a social worker. But I do believe that that's my birthright as well, is to be an advocate, to speak on issues that need a voice, or to speak for people that do not have a voice. So a part of that is I'm a TV connoisseur, so I love to binge watch TV series, and I started this new series, and there was something that was said in that episode that really just resonated with me. And in this scene, this person said, broken people do a better job of taking care and helping broken people.
Mhm.
And that just, it blew my mind. It really did, because we share connection through experiences. And I do believe that experiences, the transparency of it can evoke healing with people. And so that was one of my goals, is to be transparent with my own life, so I can help others that might find themselves in that same situation. Because
Yeah.
if you can connect with somebody on that, it just makes it resonate a whole lot more. So,
Yeah.
but yes, I have been diagnosed with clinical depression and generalized anxiety disorder. So I deal with both of those. That has been a struggle for me as long as I can remember. It started out very, very young and followed me throughout life. In the beginning, that depression and anxiety, that wasn't something that you talked about.
Mhm.
um, or if you were feeling really, really down and you just said, I can't take this anymore, it's not being received by the people that are around you. It's saying, Raven, don't talk like that. Don't say that, you know. So those are all ways that will cause people to just continue to suppress those issues. And so that was definitely how it impacted my life. So it was definitely a struggle from the very beginning for me.
Mhm.
It's something that I still have to manage up until this point, to make sure that I'm taking care of myself and making sure that I don't carry any shame and guilt, to own that and to be able to allow God to use my testimony, to help others. So one of
Mhm.
the craziest things is the most common mental health um, issue that's out there is anxiety. So anxiety is
Yeah.
the number
Yeah.
one, like it's the most common. And then there's also a real interesting thing. It's called where you can have two diagnoses at the same time. So a lot of people that might struggle with anxiety will most likely struggle with depression as well. So there's so many mental health diagnoses that are out there that
Mhm.
need a voice to it. But I just really feel like this is one that society has caused us to push under the rug, and not really speak on it, not really accept it. I think that we're in a good place in society with having more people speak out on depression.
Right.
There's a
Yeah.
lot resources than there used to be.
Right.
So I think that this is the perfect time to just
Mm-hmm.
push that awareness. And I like to think of depression as the silent killer.
Mm,
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah,
I can
that
see
is
that.
just yes. I wholeheartedly believe that depression is a silent killer, because a lot of people struggle in silence
Yeah,
with
that's true.
depression and anxiety. Um, and
Well,
often,
Eliza, why do you think that people are being silent when they're dealing with depression?
mhm. I think there's several reasons for that. You got to take into account culture. You have to take into account religion.
Absolutely.
You have to take into account socioeconomic statuses. There's
Mm.
so many different things that play into why somebody would live in silence with this. There's race, there's
Yeah.
gender. All of those things play a big, big, big factor in that. But I want to just kind of share just a little bit of how relevant this is to people.
Mhm.
8.7% of women are dealing with depression,
Wow.
and
Wow.
5.3% of men are dealing with depression. So
Mhm.
oftentimes men aren't allowed to express their emotions,
I
to
absolutely
be
agree.
vulnerable. I don't know about
Yes.
y'all, but I've seen that. I can remember, the male figures in my life. I have a hard time remembering when I ever saw them cry,
Mm-hmm.
and I
You're
think
right.
that's a way that men have been conditioned in society. Um, and it's very unfortunate. And those are the reasons
Mm.
that I ultimately believe that people live in silence with this. I lived in silence with it for a very long time. I would remember, um, at the end of the day, because I was so good at putting a smile on my face,
Mm-hmm.
laughing, bringing joy to the room, or, helping other people out, making other
Mm-hmm.
people feel good. But at the end of the day, I would take that mask off, and
Um,
it would just be me in that pain, me in that sadness, me in that
Right.
gloom, me in that stress or that anxiety and that worry. And I didn't feel like I could open up about that. And I carried a lot of shame and guilt. So there were many nights that I would turn the water on in the tub, and I would sit in the floor and just cry because it would muffle the sounds of my cry. So nobody
Mm.
would hear it. And so that's very, very, very unhealthy.
mhm.
Very, very unhealthy to keep that in and to, um, struggle in
In
silence.
silence.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have a comment. Someone, Andre was saying that some people are embarrassed, and that could be from what Raven was saying about shame.
Yeah.
And he also said a lot of times men are taught to deal with things like, themselves and keep it
Mhm.
inside.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
Absolutely.
also women are taught that too. And we talked about some of this on last week, on
Right.
last Sunday.
Yeah. Being
Uh,
superwoman.
yeah,
Mhm.
we women are raised and taught to be
Mhm.
strong. You
Absolutely.
ain't supposed to talk about your emotions and your feelings
Mhm.
because you got too much to do.
Yeah.
There's so many
Hmm.
Yeah.
things that need to
Ain't
be
nobody got
done.
time for that. Let's
You
keep
got,
it
like,
moving.
girl,
You
we
need
love
to
to say
bottle
that.
that
Ain't
up.
nobody got time for
Yeah.
this.
Right.
We love to say that,
Absolutely.
but that may be what you feeling at that moment that you ain't got time for it. But at the same time, that individual is going through something, so you do have to make time for them because you don't know what they may do when they go home.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's
But
so true.
um, men most definitely they are taught to
Mhm.
not cry. Don't
Mhm.
show your
Mhm.
emotion.
That's right. Man up.
Keep that stuff in.
Yes.
Yeah, just say it. Man up. That's the way
Man
we
up.
got to say. Man up.
Yeah.
I mean, even women will talk to their spouse and
Mhm.
boyfriends like that. Man up,
Yeah,
nigga.
you need to man up. What you
Yeah.
crying for?
There's women that are raising their sons with that same
Come on
perspective.
now.
You know,
Exactly.
stop all
Exactly.
that crying. You
Mhm.
know, get up, ain't nothing wrong with you, or
Exactly.
and that's just, it's something that we have to undo. It's a generational thing that we've seen
Yes,
in
it
so
is.
many generations, and it's just come down to what we see even to this day.
So
And
true.
it's something that awareness allows us to break those cycles. And in
Yeah.
society, I think a lot of times the reason that you'll see the numbers being very different is because women are expected to be emotional creatures, and men are expected to be providers and protectors. So a lot of those roles come into how we deal with our emotions. So it's expected for a woman to have a nervous breakdown, or to be dealing with depression or suicide.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think about a man, you have this societal norm that is, you're weak if you cry, or you're weak if you tap into your emotions, or
Yeah.
you are transparent with your emotions. And a
Yeah.
lot of that is the reason why, men have a hard time dealing with depression and being able to actually express that.
Exactly.
Because a
Mhm.
societal norm is that it's seen as weakness. And for women, women are expected to, we are perseverers. We are, oh my goodness, we have so much strength. If you just think about the amount of pain that a woman endures while she's giving birth, that's who women are. We carry that type of strength in our being. And so oftentimes societal norms are teaching us as well as women, you got to be the superhero.
Yeah.
You got all these roles that you got to carry, and you just got to push through it. So you can have a moment where you deal with your emotions, but you got to get it together.
You gotta get it together.
Go.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
unhealthy. It's
Mm-hmm.
unhealthy.
You gotta
And
get it
women
together.
carry that weight and feel like, you know what, I'm feeling this way, but got to take care of the kids. You got to cook. You got to go to work. You got to help with homework. You got to do all these different things. You have all these roles that you carry. And
Yeah.
so it's not really ever dealt with. It's only
That's
dealt
true.
with in little pieces throughout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
We have another comment. Also, a lot of time as Black people, we're taught to keep everything in the house and not go to therapy because if you
Yes.
go, you are weak. Or
Right.
That is a
in some
very true
places, I
statement.
heard they call you cray cray. They call you cray.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. You're crazy.
I
You're
ain't talking about talking
unstable.
about. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Absolutely. And this
Yeah.
is a very, very true statement. And like I said earlier, there's so many different factors that play into why this is a silent killer. And
Mm.
culture and race is a big part of that.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
There are many cultures, Hispanic culture, African American culture, Asian culture. There are so many cultures that deem emotion as weakness.
Yeah.
Like Mr. Brown said, you're seen as weak if you deal with it or you go to therapy. And oftentimes, it's not accepted. Seeking help is not
Mm-hmm.
accepted
Right.
Yeah.
because of cultural norms. And that's hard. That's really hard to deal with. And in the African American culture, specifically, things are usually dealt with just with the family, and
Mm-hmm.
things are usually only dealt with in the church.
Yeah.
Right.
So you have those cultural pieces to it as well. Hispanic culture, family is a big, big part of
Yeah.
the Hispanic culture. And so everything, it's got to stay in the community. It's got to stay in the family unit, and it can't go out anywhere else because we
Yeah.
keep everything on the inside. So a lot of those different things play into that for sure,
It's
and
true.
it allows it to be
Mm.
a silent killer.
It's
And
true.
when we don't allow people the opportunities to be vulnerable and to have the freedom and the liberty
Mm.
to feel like they can
Exactly.
ask for help or seek out resources and services to help better themselves in that area, we do a real disservice and injustice to people
It sure do.
in that area,
Mm.
so that's
Yes, sir.
why awareness is a big thing, because
Mhm.
oftentimes um, we find out when it's too late.
That's
um,
true.
Depression is highly linked to suicide.
Yes, it
um,
is.
and we've
Mhm.
seen so many cases of suicide where nobody knew that they were hurting on that level.
Exactly.
Family, friends, they were always smiling. They were always
Mhm. Mhm.
laugh. I didn't know that they were in pain. And that is something, as friends, as family members, as ministers, as whatever you are, it's our
Exactly.
duty to
Exactly.
to be there, for our people, or be able to look at the signs. Because I thought that this was really interesting, was that most people, let's see, I think that there is a statistic for this, cries for help. So
Mhm.
8 out of 10 people consider suicide before they actually go through with an attempt.
Mhm.
There's some way that they have given signs to the people around them. We just got to be open
Wow.
to see it.
Wow.
So
Wow.
if we're biased on depression and
Mm.
anxiety and mental health, that puts blockers on us, and we can't see when our loved ones are crying out for help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause
Raven, I would
they,
like to ask a question and get your insight on this
Yeah.
because I think a great place of where we can see a lot of cry out for help is via social media. I think we are
Hmm.
in that day and age where you see it across all platforms where you can look and say, okay, this person needs help.
Right.
Someone needs to step in, someone needs to intervene and help this person out.
Absolutely.
But my question is, what do you do for the person that's reluctant to get the help? You see it, you see the signs, you're on it, you trying to do the work, you're encouraging, you're being supportive, you're being a listening ear, you're not being judgmental or critical of anything that they're going through. You're there because you see the signs,
Mhm.
but they're in a place of being reluctant or even refusing to get help or in denial of what they're going through.
Mhm.
How do you deal with that on the supporting side of it?
Absolutely. And that is a very challenging area because how do they say it? You can lead the horse to the water, but you can't make them
And make
drink.
them drink. That's right.
True.
So
True.
this is an internal thing. So oftentimes, to be honest, I'll use myself as an example. It is very hard for me to ask for help, even still to this day. It is very hard for me to allow myself to be vulnerable with the people around me and with my
Right.
loved ones. So that's an area that I always have to keep in check, and I always have to say, you know what, it's okay to ask for help. It's
Mhm.
okay to
Right.
call a friend and be emotional. You know,
Mhm.
and so in those areas, you just keep supporting. Your
Mm-hmm.
presence will do more than you know. Just being
That's
there
good.
will do more than you know. If you have provided the resources, in regards to, there's
Yeah.
medicine out there, there's therapy, I can walk with you and help you find somebody that you
Mhm.
like.
Mhm.
You also have the suicide prevention lifeline. If you give that to that person and say, if you're
Yeah.
feeling like you cannot talk to anybody,
Mm-hmm.
make sure you use that. I want you to use that. If you feel like you can't talk, even if you feel like you can't talk to me, make sure you use
Mhm.
that. So when you've done all that, you know, you have held yourself accountable as a
Right.
supporter, as a loved one, as a friend, as a sister. So
Mhm.
you can feel confident in that you've done your part, but your continual part is going to be your presence, making sure that your presence is there, because it will do way more than you would ever know. Just simply being there. Most of the times, you don't even have to talk or address certain areas,
Mhm.
just as long as you're there. Because at the end of the day, that person
Yeah.
is the one who's got to be willing to get the help. You
Yeah.
know, it's got to be that self determination. That's what we
That's
call it
true.
professionally.
Amen.
It's
That's
Amen.
self
true.
determination that they need help, and are willing to take hold of those opportunities for help.
And I was
Yeah.
gonna add on there, if you are one of those type of people who um not in a place to be present,
Mhm.
because most people do tend to leave. Most people do tend to walk away
That's true.
or stop calling, stop you know, texting or whatever. They just tend to just slowly go
Mhm.
away because, and it could be that they just do not understand. They just
Mhm.
don't
That's
understand.
true. Because some don't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
very
if
true.
that is the case, it's okay to ask somebody else to step in to be a present person because, you know, everybody's not capable to handle certain situations. Only
Absolutely.
people, there's certain type of people who can handle
Mhm.
those type of situations. Unless you have been walked into those shoes, you know what I'm saying? You have been in that place before. And it's good for that individual to even get around people who have went through depression or who is even walking through. That's why when you go to AA meetings, they have sponsors. They have
Mhm.
people who are like-minded like them because hey, this is somebody. That first, number one, let you know you're not alone, and then
Mhm.
number
Right.
there's somebody there that you can call instead of
Absolutely.
just because there are some people who just not capable. Let me just
Yeah,
put it that
That's
way.
true.
For
absolutely.
whatever,
Yeah. Some people are not equipped.
Hmm.
yeah, some people are
And
not
that's
capable
very
for
true.
whatever reason. So you do have to be mindful that that person may not be able to understand you, and it's okay.
Hmm.
Okay, but I truly believe that God will give you a person to talk to
Hmm.
if you really
I
want
believe that
to
as
hear.
well. Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
really
And I
want
like
to
what
hear.
Felicia said earlier. She mentioned social media in this age, having people crying out for help on social
Oh,
media. I
Exactly.
mean, there's been so many here recently that we have seen where
right.
they share the last status that that person wrote, and
Yeah,
then they committed suicide. And that's heartbreaking because in
yeah,
those situations, when I see that, I wonder how many people just say that girl's so crazy. She always
Yeah. There she go
feel
again.
like there she go again. And they
yeah.
That's
just
true.
scroll on by and never take the time to reach out or
Me
to
time.
acknowledge that that person is hurting. And there's a lot of people that are very insensitive to cries for help. I've heard people
Yeah.
Very.
absolutely say that if someone told them that they were thinking about killing themselves, they would tell them to go do
Whoa.
it because they feel like,
Wow.
if you was gonna do it, you really wouldn't even bring it up. You wouldn't even ask. You
Oh,
would just go and do it. And
wow.
there's people that really think like that, and that
That's
is
so
something that
right.
really just it breaks my heart to know that people I know, and I've heard this, in different professional settings and stuff like that. People really feel like that, and are
Yeah.
very insensitive
They
to
are.
cries for help. But there's also social media and technology is a really good resource now. There's groups that you can be a part of on Facebook,
Mhm.
Right.
like
Mhm.
support groups.
Mhm.
And I mean, there's groups for everything that brings people from around the world together
Exactly.
that are dealing with the same
Same.
thing. People can
Right.
go on there and ask questions. People can post, this is what has helped me. Here's some exercise tips that you can do to
Exactly.
help release some good hormones in your brain to kind of help
Mm.
combat that naturally. There's all kinds of different ways that technology is helping us bring awareness to this
Exactly.
area. There's text lines where you can text a number, you can
That's right.
call a number,
Mm-hmm.
lifeline number. You have the suicide prevention lifeline. There's even numbers that you can call if you just simply need to talk. Maybe you're not at the place of suicidal ideations, or developing a suicidal plan
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
that, but you just need to talk and get some stuff off your chest,
Right.
and have a professional or somebody who is equipped, like y'all said, to handle that.
Handle.
Those exist. So I think that those are some definite advantages to mental health
Maybe
awareness.
you.
Yeah.
Maybe you.
I like to touch on what you said about the Facebook group,
Mhm. Yeah.
and it kind of come from the back end of this. I remember being at a conference, some type of conference, and someone had gotten up and they were speaking about mental illness and all of that, and they were speaking right in the lines of what you were saying.
Mhm.
And then they kind of changed gears, and it was kind of like a moment of revelation to me because I had done this myself,
Mhm.
where it also was saying, be mindful also of what you're speaking over yourself
Mhm.
when it comes to mental illness. And I say that in the lines of depression. A
Yeah.
lot of times, and I've done it myself, and this is why I can speak on it, is where we get so caught up in a bad week that, oh, I'm depressed.
Mhm.
Oh, I just want to throw in the towel. And maybe you just, Monday through Friday was just a rough week. And it
Mhm.
happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But does that mean your whole life is over because
Mhm.
Monday through Friday just kind of sucked? And what level of suckness was it? You know what
Right.
I mean?
Come on
And then,
now.
Right.
if it was just a flat tire, that's not that bad. I mean, I don't like a flat tire either, but if I have to get out there and change it, I will. Thankfully, I know how to do that. But my
Yeah.
point is, I think we have to also be careful, and I'm just, kind of playing maybe the devil's advocate here, is be careful too of what we're speaking. And this is not for the ones that are at a totally different level of depression and anxiety. I'm speaking about where we might can take a bad week and internalize that and make it so much bigger than
Absolutely.
what it is. And now you're speaking, oh, I'm depressed. No,
Mhm.
maybe you just had a bad day.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Maybe you just had a bad hour.
That's,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it
that's
was just a
something that
rough
you
week.
do.
But
That's
don't,
something that's used in therapy.
yes, yes.
Exactly.
And this
Cognitive
ties into the
communication.
Facebook group. Get connected with a
Absolutely.
group so when you do have days like that, you can come in those groups,
Yeah.
and you can vent about it. Because that's all you do in those
Mm-hmm.
groups anyway. I mean, even from the health and food groups, you
Yeah.
mainly in there venting.
Okay.
And
It's
you go,
all right.
and so all of y'all that's dealing with the same thing could come
Mm-hmm.
together and you can have that support system. So that's even for the more high level depression,
Mhm.
anxiety, down to I just had a bad day. I just don't want any of us because I've done that. I've
Oh,
allowed
I'm guilty
a
of that
week
as well.
and I'm like, oh my God, I'm
Yeah.
depressed. And I just had a
Mm-hmm.
nasty day or something. And now I done went way extreme and too far out the way with it. So I think we
Yeah.
also want to be clear on that. Be careful what you're
Absolutely.
speaking on yourself.
That's
Don't just be
true.
declaring everything because everything
Mhm.
ain't what it
Yeah.
appears to be.
Exactly.
Yes. And Felicia, I'm so glad that you brought that up because that is very true. If you think about a child that is in their mother's womb, they are receptive to what they
Ah,
hear while they're in the womb,
Mm-hmm.
what they're feeling while they're in the womb, and all of that starts at the point of development for a child
wow.
in the womb, based off of
Yeah.
hearing, feeling, and all of those different factors. And that is something that I believe we do not lose in our life. We carry
Mm-hmm.
that. What
I
we
believe that.
hear, what we feel, what our environment is plays a big part in that. So, like you said, being aware of what you're speaking over yourself, what's in your environment. If there are certain things that trigger you,
Right.
do not
Yeah.
do
Thank you.
do not be involved in that. Do not. I, there are certain like I've watched a movie. And I wish I didn't watch it because there was something in there that triggered me and made
They just brought you down.
brought me down.
Right.
And I had to work all my steps for
Yes.
those weeks following
Yeah,
to even keep
exactly.
myself back on the level. So what you're surrounding yourself with, what you're
you
allowing yourself to
consuming.
hear, that is
Yes.
important. If you got to
So
write on
true.
your mirror, so every time you look in the mirror, you see a positive affirmation about yourself. If you have to leave post-it notes everywhere, so you can see that throughout the times that you're walking throughout your house. If you need to get there's apps out there that
It
can
sure is.
encouraging messages every single morning.
Yes.
There's some that
Mhm.
there's some to help you maintain stress.
Yeah.
Utilize those different things. Positive affirmations. There's so many ways that we can do that.
So
Absolutely.
true. That's so true. So let's go through some of these comments, y'all. Y'all are saying some good stuff. Good stuff. I gotta go back up a little bit. All right, Mr. Brown said, I know as Christians we have to know just because you're depressed doesn't make you a bad person. There were people in the Bible who were also depressed. That's so true.
I'm so glad he
Like
said
David.
I'm so glad he said that because that is so true.
Yes.
And that was very true for me in my struggle and in my testimony was I felt like a bad person because that's what I was conditioned to feel. That's what I was taught. That's what I was told. Whether it was told directly or whether it was an indirect way of making me feel that way. And that's where that religion piece comes in as a factor to struggling with depression. And I do believe that churches should rally around mental health awareness. I'm so happy to see so many churches. They have a counseling staff,
Right.
and that makes me so happy. I've heard sermons before where the pastor actually they would do notes with everybody that would walk in the door, and one of them was a checklist, just a simple 5-question checklist that he incorporated in his sermon. And that I was going through a really tough time at that point, and I did that survey, and he said if you checked off more than this number, you are in crisis and you need
Wow.
help. And when I tell you I had every single one of those checked off, and he said, you are in crisis and you need help. And provided a resource for their counseling staff to be present at the end of the service, so people could come and sign up. And that is beautiful to me. And I my prayer is that more churches will get on board with mental health awareness. Because oftentimes, we're told is Jesus is all you need.
Yeah.
Or
so
just pray about it.
Heard that all my life.
All my life. All my life. Those were reasons that caused me to be silent. There were times, I was told I didn't need to take medication. I would finally make the step to go get the help that I needed. And then I was told, you need to stop taking your medicine. I quit medicine cold turkey. I felt very shameful of that. I felt like I was crazy because I was told that medication is a gateway to demonic bondage.
Wow.
These are real issues, and so like Mr. Brown said, I felt like a bad person, because we weren't addressing mental health the way that it should be. But I'm happy that church is really grabbing hold to this and realizing that prayer works, but there are actual realistic things that God has gifted people to create
Exactly.
that can help us.
Yes.
He didn't call a doctor to be a doctor because we didn't need it, you know.
That's
Um,
right.
you know,
You
so
do need a doctor.
absolutely. And the way that I like to break this down for people is, and this is an unfiltered true statement. If you have a loved one that is a diabetic and has to have insulin to survive, would you tell them not to take that insulin because prayer works? Jesus is the healer. That's all you need.
Mhm.
Would you tell your diabetic loved one not to take their insulin in that moment? You know, so it's the same way with our people and our loved ones that are dealing with mental health awareness, you know, with mental health issues, excuse me. Though, you know, telling them that they don't need to be on medication is
Yeah.
just like telling a diabetic not to take their insulin.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer, don't get me wrong, I'm a firm believer that prayer works. I've seen prayer work. I have
Mhm.
seen
Yeah.
you know, the miracles of prayer
Yeah.
Yes,
in my
Lord.
own life, and just witnessing it you know, through
Mhm.
other people's lives. And I believe that, and I'm a
Yes.
hard advocate for that. But I'm also an advocate. Prayer and therapy can work together.
I
Yeah.
believe that. I remember my season of when I started breaking down and I knew that I needed some help. And at that time, I didn't know what I needed and how I was going to get it,
Mhm.
but I just knew I needed some help. I needed to talk to someone. Thank God for a really, really dear friend of mine who is still in my life, who directed me into therapy. And I finally did go see a therapist because my thing was like, man, I love God.
Yeah.
Jesus, that's my dog. Like we friends. But I'm
Yes.
like, Lord, I need somebody tangible. I needed somebody I
Yeah.
could touch. I needed somebody that could truly, and this is not saying Jesus can't see. He can see anything. God is our potter. But I just needed that tangible resource where I sat across them and they could feel what I was going through.
Yes.
And it's almost that I could see them feeling what I was going through,
Mhm.
and that's the hard part of with faith, that faith walk of trusting God and trusting that he is a healer and he is a deliverer, because he's not physically there. He's
Right.
spiritually there, but he's not physically there. And so there's those times, I think, when we're going through our process with our challenges through life, we need that tangible resource, whether that be through a therapist, whether that be through medicine,
Yeah.
for some more extensive help. I know for me, I needed tangible help. I'm like, Lord, I need somebody, that can hand me a tissue, because this here, right here, I need some
Amen.
help. And I thank God because he did send me in the right direction. So I am
Mhm.
definitely an advocate for Jesus and therapy. I
Absolutely.
Mhm.
just, and I'm like you. Why did he create doctors?
Right.
He's the
Exactly.
potter and we are his clay. And so
Absolutely.
he has molded together all these different specialists, to be great in their field for a purpose and a reason and
Absolutely.
a
Purpose.
season. And so they're
Mhm.
there for a reason, and it is to help in time of need.
Yeah.
And God cares
Exactly.
about our well-being. And I think we oftentimes
Yes.
miss that. Oftentimes, we get so
Yes.
in, we're not supposed to do this, we're supposed to do this, we're not supposed to,
Right.
we got to do this, we got to do this. And we forget that God cares about our
Yes, he
well-being.
does.
He
Mhm.
cares about your emotions. He
Yes.
cares about your stability within your mental part of yourself, with your heart, with your soul.
Yes.
He cares about that. And I think
Mhm.
oftentimes we miss that. I'm a firm believer that all the tears that I have cried in my life, that he has bottled those tears up, and
Mm,
he knows the pain of
right.
every one of
Amen.
the tears. I believe.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what I love is that the God that cares about me understands pain, because he sent his
Better than anyone.
only son to endure the
Right.
worst of the worst.
Mm.
So he knows on a continuum of being this level of pain to this level of pain. He
Mhm.
understands it all. He knows what
Amen.
rejection feels like. He knows what physical pain feels like. He
Mhm.
understands that because he
That's
sent
right.
his son here to experience basically to be able to connect with us. And my thing is, I love the fact that I can believe and have faith in a God that understands my pain.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's so
Amen.
beautiful, ain't it? So
Amen.
Oh, it's
beautiful.
so
Girl,
beautiful.
ain't it?
It's so beautiful.
Mhm.
It's so
And that is the
beautiful.
beauty of it. And to tie with that, I want to tell anyone, remember that a pastor is truly there to be your spiritual guidance. That's
Yeah,
what their job is for. But
yeah,
who
Yeah.
you need to be getting your instructions from is from your heavenly Father.
Amen.
So I'll say this, know who your God is,
mhm.
Yeah.
have a relationship with Him, not your
Absolutely,
pastor, but
absolutely,
with God.
With
Because
God.
a lot of times you need to seek God on which direction you need to go
With
in.
God.
Do I
Come
take this
on.
medicine or not? Do I seek therapy or not? All the time, the pastor is not going to have the final say or even should have that type of say in your life as it relates to your mental health. So I think it
absolutely.
is very vital that
Amen.
we as individuals, the three of us and everybody that's following us right now and us logged in, is that we know one first who God is and who
Absolutely.
He is in our lives and
Absolutely.
what He is and what He sent His Son down here for us to do for us.
Hmm.
And I think when
Amen.
we understand that is when we can get to that next level, is when we can get the help that we need. That, okay,
Mhm.
this pastor didn't agree with this. That's all right. Let me consult my Father
Hmm.
that's
Come
in
on
heaven.
now.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
you don't think that's right for me? Okay, I hear you. I'm not going to disrespect you. I'm not going to, be defiant or anything like that. But I know who my Father in heaven is. So let me
Amen.
go to my Father and see what
Mhm.
He has to say.
The same. Come on
Absolutely.
now.
Who
That's
better
good.
who better know you outside of the
Then
pastor
come on
than
now.
your heavenly Father? He's the
Yeah.
Father. He
Right.
created you.
Hmm.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And I believe
Yeah.
in deliverance. I believe in healing. And I can honestly say that there were so many areas in my life that I needed to be healed and delivered from,
Yes.
um, that were very big contributing factors to my struggle with depression.
Mm,
Not only is it a biological thing for me, it's something that runs in my family. It's
mm.
something that I dealt with from the time that I can remember. And the thing about that is, um, this is a real issue.
Yes, it
And it
is.
is.
This is a real issue,
That it
and
is.
I firmly believe that the amount of therapy that I have done helped me walk through the stages of healing and deliverance. So there are things that I was able to deal with, somebody who was professional and capable of guiding me through my healing and my deliverance with things that we can prove actually work for us, you
Yeah.
know. And so I believe in healing. I believe in deliverance. I believe in prayer. But I believe all those things can work together um,
Yeah.
to help bring, healing and deliverance to depression.
Right, right.
Amen.
Right. And the beauty of therapy is because it just gives you a different perspective on life and your
Yeah.
circumstances, gives
Mhm.
you additional resources that you may not have been, that it wasn't accessible to, prior to
Exactly.
being in therapy. And that's what I liked about it. I was able to see things from a totally different scope. I was just
Mhm.
so, I kind of just was in this field to where, yeah, just and sometimes we do, in most cases, we do want to look straight ahead,
Yeah.
keep the blinders on.
Mhm.
But sometimes when you're dealing with this type of process and situation, you got to open it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to see the world. You got to see the things around you because
Absolutely.
you so one track minded and you just, and for some people going down a truly a dead end road
Mhm.
because we're like this. I can't see nothing else. All I see is this.
Yep.
And if we would just remove, and that's to me, that's
Amen.
what therapy is. It just removes that filter or that covering that's blocking you for being able to see everything
Exactly.
around you and the possibilities.
Amen. Amen.
And you know, this is an example of that. Imagine if you had an injured hand,
Right.
you were trying to do all of your physical daily functions with the
Mm-hmm.
injured hand, writing, typing, opening the car door, any of those daily functions. Imagine how painful that is, you know, with the injured hand trying to do all of those functions.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine somebody who's dealing with depression, because oftentimes we don't think that this is a physical need because we can't see it.
Right.
You can see my injured hand, so you expect for me to struggle doing my daily activities every day because I'm injured and you can see it. But for somebody who's dealing with depression, they're injured.
Right.
There's something that's broken. So imagine a broken heart and trying to live.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine the struggle of that.
Yeah. And it's sad because there's so many of us walking around that's like
Exactly.
Mhm.
Like
that,
that.
Broken
broken.
spirit, broken
Yeah.
heart,
Mm-hmm.
you
For
know,
various
imagine
reasons too.
trying to live with that. And
Right.
Exactly.
this brings
For
reality.
various reasons.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wanted to share this just to show how big of an issue this is. Um, Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death
Mm.
in
Mm-hmm.
America, and at least 47,000 Americans die by suicide each year.
Mm-hmm.
47,000 of Americans die from suicide every year.
That's a high number.
That's a high
Yeah.
number.
That's scary.
That's a high number. If you think about that and you break that down for yourself personally, there's at least somebody that I've encountered and I have met that
Mm-hmm.
will fall into this number.
Wow.
Wow.
There's somebody in our churches
That's right.
that might become a part of this number. There's somebody in
Mm-hmm.
our family that might become a part of this number.
That is
We've
so
seen
true.
pastors that have committed suicide within the
Right.
past years that have
Yeah.
become part of this number. And I believe that this is something that we really have to be aware about. And I'm so happy that it's people like you out here who are, taking issues of life that we have been taught for years and years to not talk about.
We took on his word.
Oh, hi.
About issues of life, because like Felicia said earlier, you got to turn the mirror on yourself. If you're going to talk about an issue of life, you got to put that mirror up and you got to look your own issues in the
Right.
face.
Okay, dude.
And having someone like you both given a platform to actually address this, to talk about
Mm-hmm.
the difficulties of this. Mental health awareness and conversation can be very controversial.
Yes, it
I
can.
have experienced that myself, being an advocate for that.
Yes.
You know, it is something that people do not like to talk about. And actually,
Yeah.
breaking it down for into these numbers and
Mm-hmm.
all these different characteristics of mental
Yeah.
health diagnosis
Yeah.
is very uncomfortable for people to talk about. But
And I
we're
think it's because people just don't want to face the truth of the
absolutely.
matter. So we would prefer to live in denial and
Hmm.
just not know. Well, no, I don't want to know. I
Yeah.
don't, I'd rather
Yeah.
just not know when if we knew. To me, knowing is the first step in freedom
Hmm.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Being aware.
and being aware. Exactly.
Yeah, and I'm a
Yeah.
firm believer. Like, even tonight, there very well could be someone who's watching this right now
Mm-hmm.
who could become a part of that 47,000
Right.
number. But because of this, they have an ounce of hope to keep going, or
Yeah.
to having someone to tell you it's okay to reach
It's
out for
okay.
help.
It is.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay to do that. And so, speaking on that, I just want to share this number just in case there is somebody who's watching this that you
Please.
found yourself in this dark place. You feel like you got a cloud just following you above your head everywhere you go. You feel this sense of doom, or you feel like you're worthless, or you feel like you're not loved, whatever the case may be. And if you have even thoughts about suicide or needing help in some way, I want to share this number just in case it is anybody. This is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline number. It is 1-800-273-8255. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 1-800-273-8255. You can call this number at any time of the day.
You got it on there, Felicia.
Yep, taking care. And this is the National Suicide.
Yeah, this is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline.
Yeah.
So if anybody, and I've been there. I have been there. And this is a real issue.
It is.
Something that you don't have to be shameful about, or feel guilt about, or feel like
That's right.
feel like you're crazy. So just know that it's okay to ask for help.
That's right.
It's
And know
okay.
that you're not alone. I think that's a really big one too.
Yeah.
Is don't look at us three on here and think, oh, you're not alone, because you don't know what we might be dealing with when we log off of here with you, and what we have to face.
Exactly.
So understand that you are not alone, which is why we're discussing this, which is why we're being an advocate for, which is why we have our sister here, Raven, who is a licensed therapist who can come in and even give us more details and statistics that can help all of us. So just know that you are not alone, and to reach out to whomever. I can personally say I've been there, but I'm still sitting here.
Yeah.
I'm still sitting here because I haven't given up faith. I haven't given up hope. Just reach out. Just reach out.
And you're also not a bad person either.
That's important. Yes.
You're not a bad person, and also it doesn't mean that you don't believe in Jesus.
That's right. Thank you for saying that. Yes. That's big.
The blood still works, baby. It really does. The blood works. It does. Believe me, I know it works.
Because this talk for him tonight, this talk for him tonight can be that blessing.
Yeah.
God's still working on your behalf.
Yes, absolutely.
Because God works whichever way He want to work. He's a sovereign God, so He works how He want to work, and we don't know how His blessings. We don't know how His ability to save you is going to work. It could be through this.
Right. Absolutely.
So true.
And God is not mad at you, or
not at all
look down on you because you need help in this area. Because you've prayed about it, but you haven't seen anything change.
Right.
He is not mad at you.
He sure is.
I felt like thank you so much, Tyra, for saying that, because there were so many times I felt like I was sending a message to God that I didn't believe in His healing power, because I prayed and prayed about it, but this was just something that was going to be a part of my story, and it's something that I can help with. But at the end of the day, God cares about how I feel. He cares about my emotions. He cares about my heart. He cares about my soul. He doesn't just care about my soul. He cares about my soul, my heart, my emotions, my mind. He loves us to that extent and to that extreme. So why would God be mad at you for taking care of the vessel that He created? Why would He be mad at you for that?
And it's something I want to add about the soul. I know how some people get so caught up in the confusion about the soul is just about spiritual, just praying and fasting and going to church and all that, but your soul is more than just your spiritual man. Your
Mm.
soul is where you come up and make your decisions. Your soul is where you think all the time, every day, all day, you thinking. And then you have a
Right.
feeling. That's your soul. Your soul is made up of those components. Your soul is basically like an onion. That's how the way I love to explain it.
Mm.
It's like an onion. So in the middle of the onion is your soul, but you got layers of the soul.
Layers. Yeah.
And
That's right.
so your layer is that you got feelings, you got thoughts, you have a
Mhm.
mental mindset where you can make a decision to do something, and then you have that action behind it. So that's the soul. Your soul, and when people say I'm going out here to save souls, a pastor really can't save souls. I mean, if you want to look at it in a different perspective, he can't save souls. Only Jesus can save souls. I'm just gonna say that. Jesus is the only one who can save souls, but at the same time, it's still a psychological part to your soul. So you're gonna have to go get some psychological help for
Right.
the psychological part of the soul because you are not just made up of soul. You have a spirit, you have a mind, and then you have a body. I know how some people love to just say spirit, mind, and body, and then some people say spirit, soul, and body. But soul is still the component of the mind. So the mental component, it got to be taken care of
Yes.
at the mental health place. It ain't gonna be taken care of at the altar because it's a mental issue. It's a mental capacity of you. It's the mental component, so it has to be taken care of at a mental place. The right people, the right therapy. There are all kinds of
Right.
therapy now, but it has to be taken care of that way. And
Right.
then the spiritual part of you, you feed that too.
Yes.
That's right.
You feed that
It's
too.
all
You feed
one.
that through
It's all
prayer.
one. It's
Yeah.
all connected.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
Spirit,
it's all
mind, our
connected,
body, it's all one.
and it all has to be in balance. That's
Mhm.
when the physical part of you, the body, you're supposed to be exercising. You're supposed to
Yes.
be eating the right
That's right.
food. The food that you're supposed to be eating. I know God
Mm.
uh,
Mm. Mm.
because God has spoken to me. Come on, Felicia. Don't be
Woo!
hating
Help
now.
us, Lord.
This is unfiltered truth, baby. I'm sorry. Unfiltered.
Woo!
And God put it out there like it is. The body is a vessel. It's a
Yes.
temple.
Yes, it
So
is.
you have to take care of it. If your body is telling you to stop eating, stop eating.
That's
Your
right.
body is telling you that your high blood pressure is high, go to the doctor.
Yes.
Yep.
You
And
know,
make the necessary changes.
make the necessary changes. Come on now.
Yes.
God
Yes.
only give us one body, and,
Yes.
and we have to show some appreciation unto the
Yes.
Lord who created.
Mm.
Show your appreciation by taking care of it, by
That's
Yes.
right.
exercise and eating, and also getting rest. So
Yeah.
I'm a big old person on making sure I get enough sleep, making sure
Me too.
I'm
Me
serious.
too.
Making sure I get enough, making sure I get into my solitude moments. I'm
Yes.
Right.
by
Ain't
myself.
no good
So
without the
I
rest.
need to take a break from folks. I need to take a mental health day from work. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You have to do those things. It all works together.
It
It
sure does.
all comes together. And I tell you, when you balance all three persons of yourself, you live in your best life.
There you
That's
go.
good. Yeah.
You
That's
live your
good.
That's
best
good.
life because you got Jesus, you got therapy, you got exercise plus nutrition and rest. Baby,
Yes.
Yes.
that's
Yes.
good.
Got
You,
it
you,
all.
you ain't gonna be walking around here talking about what the devil doing. You gonna be so high. you gonna be
Right.
so high on Jesus.
And I love that. I
I do
love
too.
that. I love that.
Man,
I love that, Tyra.
you
And
gonna
I
be
wanted to
so
leave
high.
this with everyone, and even all of us, the three of us, as
Mm,
you saying that. And I wanted to lead this scripture, 1 Peter 5:7, and I'm reading out of the NLT. Give
okay.
all your worries and cares to God, for He cares about you. So that means go to Him. Let Him know. I like to keep it 100. I just got to be myself. Let Him know you toe up. See, the reality
He
he knows
already
anyway.
knows.
He know anyway.
He
All he wants you to
already
do is
knows.
just surrender your will and let him know. And then at that point, he can start lining up the right connections. At that point, he can start guiding and directing you.
Come
So
on.
he's saying, bring all your worries. All your worries. Do you realize what that means? Everything.
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 Whatever, what someone else in your connection, or a friend, family, stranger might think is crazy, God is like, bring that to me.
Bring it here.
Bring it to me, because I care about you, because I want you well, because I want you healthy. So bring it to me because I care for you. If you bring it to me, then I can do what I need to do and do the work within you. But we got to bring it to him. So if I can say nothing else before this live ends, is just bring it to God. Bring it to God. We
Bring it
not just
to him.
talking. We just not talking. We talking what we know
Well, we know.
and what we've had to experience to walk out our
Absolutely.
own selves.
Come on now. Come
Yeah.
on now. This has been so good, y'all. We over an hour. We usually try to shut it down
We do. We
before the
try.
hour. So we apologize, but we have to be obedient when it comes to the talk forum. So Raven, we sure do appreciate you.
Oh, thank
Thank
you, my
you.
Uh,
sister.
I have learned a lot, especially about those statistics. I did not
Yeah.
know those statistics about the between the men and women who are
Yes.
suffering in silence when it comes to depression. We got more work to do.
We
We
do,
really
because that number is actually higher
Wow.
because there's people suffering in silence.
That's true.
yeah,
Mm,
So we got work to do.
amazing.
We
yeah.
got work to
We
do.
still got more work to do. But we so thank you.
Wow.
We
Thank
appreciate you,
you.
and we gotta have you on back another
Yes,
time.
we do.
But we do. Even though we do know that suicide prevention is in what is it, October, but early November. What is suicide prevention? Is it September? I
Mm,
can't remember.
uh,
It's
It's
somewhere.
one of the months. It's later
it's
on in
like
the
further in
year.
the year, I think it
Yeah.
is.
It
Further
is. It's
down.
covering.
But to me, I like to discuss issues all throughout the year.
Right, because it's still happening.
So we'll have to have you on back. But you guys, we appreciate everybody in the audience who joined us on
Thank
tonight. We thank you
you.
for being with us on tonight, and we just pray that you all have learned something and can take something with you. And if you don't mind, could you please share this live because you just don't know who may be dealing with this type of situation. So please share the live. And y'all have a wonderful, wonderful, blessed night.
Take care, everyone. We
Bye.
love you.
Bye bye.